This is the Avella CD324 Professional Monopod. Yeah, it's a professional monopod. And I got this monopod because I was looking at the Cobra iFootage 3-strike monopod, and I picked this one over that monopod because that one had a lot of hype, but I ended up getting this one. And if you'd like to know why, then keep watching because you're watching Blue Collar Guy. Okay, so full disclaimer, I did not get this monopod sent to me by Avella. I bought this with my own money. This is not a sponsored video, and I do not get paid any affiliate links. So if you buy this monopod from a link that I put on there, I don't get a commission. So I only put links on products that I truly believe in, and I just wanted to let you know that so that there is no motivation whatsoever for me to talk about this monopod other than I like it. So let's talk about this monopod. So the difference between a professional monopod and a regular monopod is they usually have these little feet at the bottom. And as you can see, you can extend these little feet, and those feet allow it to stand on its own, kind of. It gives it some stability, but not the same level of stability that you would get with a tripod. And I'm going to demonstrate that in the other room, but right now I'm just going to give you my 4 thoughts, and then I'm going to come back to the studio and we're going to have our final thoughts on this thing. So before I get into more details about this monopod, I'm going to show you the difference between this monopod and a regular monopod. So this monopod is an Amazon Basics monopod. See, Amazon Basics. You can get these for $30. It's got the little clips just like the other one, and you can put these in and out. It's very easy to deploy, but it doesn't have the legs on the bottom. And the other thing is that it's not built all that well. For instance, if you put too much weight on it, these clips could start to slip over time. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to kind of half put one of these on there, and you can see I can kind of push it in. And that will happen eventually if you put too much weight, even if they're fully locked. And once that happens, there is no fixing it. There's no adjustments, nothing. Okay? It is just, a monopod for that. Now, what would I recommend this monopod for? If you're just taking photos. So if you're out taking photos, let's say you're at the Botanical Gardens in Montreal or the zoo or something, and you're just taking pictures, not video, then one of these work really, really good for that. Because you can move from place to place. They offer some extra stability without having to go get a gimbal or anything like that. You just need to get one of these and you're off to the races. So to get back to this monopod, if you look at the clips on this, they're substantially bigger, and you also have these little screws on the back. And it comes with a key that fits inside one of these, and that key allows you to tighten them. So if they ever did get loose, you can make that adjustment. So you don't have to go get a whole new monopod. You can just adjust it and you're good to go again. The other thing is that these are more set up for video. This one comes with a fluid head. The fluid head separately is worth about $80, so it's not a really cheap garbage fluid head or anything like that. So it doesn't have drag adjustment on the pan or the tilt. And those are usually knobs that you'll find here or here, like a dial, and that will allow a certain drag adjustment so that if you wanted to make sure that your panning and your tilting are at a consistent speed, you would set them up, and then no matter how hard you really pulled on it, it's always going to try to match that speed. So you would want your speed to be able to be duplicated. So if you wanted to duplicate that speed of your panning and your tilting so that it's consistent from shot to shot, that's where your adjustments for your pan and tilt drag would come in. So that every time you took another video and you were panning, your speed's going to look pretty much the same because you're going to set it on 2 or 3. The other thing is it has counterbalance, but it's not adjustable. So adjustable counterbalance is so that if your rig has different weights to it, you can set it. And once your counterbalance is set up, when you let go of the camera, it doesn't move. You can put it in any position you want, and it will just stay in that position. It's not going to sag. It's not going to lift. but this one does not have that. And I will show you what that looks like too. So I've got to fix the arm on there. So I'm going to adjust the arm a bit and move it up because I've got it in the, I guess, stowed position. I'll just hook that up. You can also put the arm on the left or the right hand side, and it even has a 1/4-20 mount here. So if you wanted to put an accessory on there, maybe a wireless microphone, that sort of thing, you can. It does have a lock, and you can lock the pan and the tilt. So now watch what happens when I let go. See how it springs back? So the nice thing about that is your camera isn't going to slam down. It's not going to hurt itself if you let go of this arm. It's just going to have a little bit of a spring, or if it does start to sag because it is a heavy setup like the one that I'm going to show you, then it's just going to drop down really nice and slowly. But I still lock it off, because if you don't lock it off, then what happens is the camera will droop down, and then the weight will make it fall forward like so, because you've only got these 3 little feet at the bottom. Well, they're not really that little. It's 17 inches when they're extended, and that's actually bigger than some of the other professional monopods, so it is more stable in that way. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a monopod with only being supported from this one spot. And that's what can make them more tippy than a tripod, because a tripod, the legs come out from the top. So there is some differences between this monopod and the iFootage Cobra 3 Strike. One of them is price. So here's the price of the iFootage Cobra 3 Strike, and it was one of my deciding factors. It's over $700. The fluid head on that monopod does not have an adjustable drag on the pan or the tilt either. It also does not have adjustable counterbalance, but it is probably a little bit better quality. Both of these monopods, by the way, are built in China. Now, one other thing I would like to point out on a side note is that this monopod looks a lot like the newer TP71, which costs more money than this monopod. This one was about $135. I'm going to put the price right here. And if you look at a picture of the newer TP71, they look almost identical, and yet it's about $180, I think. So it's more money than this one, and they look like they're almost built in the same factory. So if you were to look at the newer GM76, and I'm going to put that one up there, it looks a lot like this, but that one is made of aluminum and this one is carbon fiber. And here's the price of the newer GM76 monopod. Yeah, so not a bad deal on this one. You can remove the fluid head, so if you wanted to put a more expensive fluid head, you can. You could put one with counterbalance, drag, and all that other good stuff on here if you weren't happy with this one, if you wanted to upgrade, and it would still come in cheaper than the iFootage one. Now, iFootage is going to say, well, we have a disconnect here and we have a disconnect here. So if you wanted to quickly disconnect this and put it on the base, you can. You can do it with this one too, but it doesn't have a quick disconnect. But you can buy those iFootage quick disconnects, and here's a picture of those. And those are about 70, I think they're $71 or $77, something like that. And you would have to get 2 of them. So that'd be about $150, but it would still come in cheaper. I might want to say again, it'll still be cheaper than if you bought the $700 monopod. So the feet on this one, the legs, I guess you could say, are actually longer than the Cobra 2 model. These are 17 inches, I believe, from foot all the way to the next foot out. So they're quite long. And like I said before, it's never going to be as stable as a tripod, but they are going to be more stable than your average monopod, like one with legs. Now, there was some things I didn't like about this monopod, and I'm going to talk about those after I demonstrate it. So we're going to go to the other clip now, and I'm going to demonstrate this one so it's extended. I'm going to put a fairly heavy camera rig in it with a camera monitor and that sort of thing. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like. And I'm also going to show you that there's not much difference between this and the iFootage 3 when it comes to the height adjustment. Because once you set up these other 2 clips, you're really only messing with this one. And that's not really that much of a difference between one clip and the clutch mechanism, which you would have here. The only way it would make a difference is if you had to go from fully extended to fully, shrunk down. So let's go to that shot, and then we're going to come back to the studio and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on that. So right now we're going to demonstrate this monopod. And I'm going to extend the legs now that we have a little bit more room. And the clips, like I said, are very solid. So I'm going to extend the clips. They extend very easy to deploy. And here is the final one up here. So I want you to look at the height of this thing. You're not going to put anything this high typically, unless of course you were standing on top of something and you needed to have it way up here. This is quite high, which gives it an advantage because this one clip now can control several height levels. So this is your typical height that you're going to be filming at. And if you needed to come up a little bit up or down, you can do it from here. And you only really need to use the other two clips for like an initial adjustment. So let's say I wanted to set it at a base height right about here, and I can easily reach and grab both of these clips. So now I want to make some adjustments. I'm really only messing with one clip because I set it to its lowest point that I want to put it at, and the highest point is still way up here. So I'm just going to go get a camera rig. I'm going to put the full rig on here and show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the rig on it. This is not a light rig. I've got a camera monitor on here. I've got a FZ2500 bridge camera. And I've got a matte box with a 1/8 inch black mist filter in here. These are not light items. So I've even got a remote control on here, right here on the handle. I'm going to adjust this handle now. I'll lower it just a little bit. It's very adjustable, by the way. Now I'm going to loosen my pan and tilt controls. And as you can see, with the camera level, it doesn't really move. I got my hands off of it, see? But the minute I tilt it down, it's going to keep drifting, right? And if I let it go, as you can see, it's going to tip over. So if you lock it off, and that doesn't do that, you're fine. It's not going to move. So once you have it locked off and it's level, it'll sway a bit, but it's not going to fall over. But you do have to keep an eye on it. It's not the kind of thing where you walk away and go to the washroom or use it in a high windy environment. It's just in case you need to turn your back for a quick sec and you want to grab something out of your bag, or you want to make an adjustment, or you just want to like step away from the camera and look at something, but you don't want to leave it unattended. And I wouldn't recommend that with any professional monopod. So if you do have to leave your camera unattended, I would always recommend a tripod. So if I had to grab something out of my bag, I lock this part off, I can go over, grab something, and then come back and then put it on the camera. If I had to go get an SD card or something and come back to it, I'm good. You know, it's not going to fall over. Would I leave it unattended? No. If it was a lighter camera setup, it would be more stable. The other thing is, if I had to leave it, I would probably drop it all the way down, because the lower it is to the ground, the more stable it is. And obviously, if it did fall over, it's going to do less damage to your equipment. So as you can see, I'm only using one lever to make my adjustments. If I have to go down, I make my adjustment. If I come back up, I'm making my adjustment. You know, I don't have the clutch mechanism like I would on the iFootage Cobra 3 Strike, but I don't really need it. I'm only messing with one lever, and that's the whole point I was talking about. I'm making one little adjustment because the other ones are only going to be made once. You're not going to have to mess with all three always. It's not going to be the case. You're going to set up the first two to your basic minimum requirement height, And then the third one is just going to be your final adjustment. So if I was moving down the sidewalk and I was filming a parade and I wanted to make a quick adjustment, I could do that with just the one. It's not going to take that long. So, you know, the other advantage of this monopod is, again, it's mobility. I can move it from place to place. It's easier than if you're using a tripod. But again, I can't emphasize enough, they're never going to be as stable as a tripod. They're not going to have that rock solid stability, because in order to have that, you'd have to have your legs coming from this point down here. You can't have it from way down here. It's just like, it's like balancing on a tiny pedestal almost. But the feet on this monopod are quite large compared to other professional monopods. It's not locked off right now, see? But it's pretty much staying put. If I start to tilt it down, then it's going to start to drift. But as you can see, it did not slam. It's not hurting my camera. But it is drifting, and it will throw the monopod out of balance, and it will tip over. One thing I will let you know is watch more than one YouTube video on a product. So don't just watch my video and buy it. I want you to watch as many videos on this monopod as you can, and you'll understand what I'm getting at. So this monopod does have the ability to connect the head right to the feet. You do have to loosen an Allen screw, and then you can unscrew this, and then you can put it on the feet, and it works just fine for that. So iFootage does have the quick disconnects for that, so you can literally just disconnect it easily and put it down there. You can buy those disconnects. Again, here's the price of those disconnects. They're $77 each. So you'd have to buy 2 of them, which is more than $140. And even still, it would be cheaper to do that to this monopod than it would be to go buy one of theirs. Yeah, I know, it's kind of silly, right? So we're going to go back into the studio, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this monopod. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to talk about why I think this monopod is a better pick. Well, for starters, it's a lot cheaper. For 2, it comes with 2 base plates. So it's got 2 base plates included, and you can get extra ones for $30, which also would be cheaper instead of going with the iFootage model. So what is it that I don't really like about it? Well, if I want to level this, I have to level it from this part right here. And I don't like that, because when it's all the way extended up, that means I have to crouch down to level it. I have to loosen off this piece right here. And then I've got to loosen this, make my adjustments, and then I've got to check my bubble level, which is way up here, and then I've got to keep going back and forth. And to me, that's a pain in the butt. So I'm not going to want to do that. So I did order a base plate, a leveling base plate, and I'm going to show you a picture of that and how much it costs. And that plate will allow me to have a level pan all the way across. So some people would say, well, just use a camera ball mount. Can't you use one of those? And the answer is no. If you put a ball mount on here and you try to level it that way, it will only be level at that one point. As soon as you start to pan, it's going to fall out of level. I know that sounds weird, but that's why we use the leveling plates. So the leveling plate will allow it to be panning all the way level across. So instead of having it level like this, where it's going to swoop down or swoop up, you know, and that would be the problem that you would have if it was at a level, is you want it to have it so it pans smooth all the way across. And I ordered one of those, but that brings me to my next problem, is that the bag in which it comes in. So it came in a pretty nice bag, and it looks a lot like the bag that the newer monopods come in. This one's called the Avella. And if I open the bag, it has a nice little zippered compartment on the inside right here. And if I open that, then I got access to all the tools. Here's the little key thing that comes with it. So if you want to tighten those clips, you can. It also comes with 2 more Allen keys. One of them is actually stored in the base. And here's the other plate that you get with it. So you get 2 of these plates, and they're worth, like I said, $30 each, and that's a good value. But it's the case. So even though the case is actually not a bad case, it's only big enough for the monopod as it is from the factory, and it's a relatively tight fit. In other words, it's a little bit of a wrestling match to get this thing in and out of there You have to kind of play with it a bit or wrestle with it to get it in there. Once you do, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I could be nitpicking on that. But my advice to Avella is make your cases a few inches longer so that if I put some accessories on them, I don't have to keep taking them off, which can also be a pain in the butt. You're not going to like this case very much. But you can solve this problem. And I did. I bought this case by VidPro. And this particular case is about 3 or 4 inches longer, and I can put my monopod in here and have room to spare. So you can solve all these problems. I can put quick releases on there. I can put the extension on, like the leveling base on there, and it'll fit in this other case. And I still come in cheaper than if I bought the iFootage 3 Strike. So you can buy this one and you can save your money, and you can add a few accessories on there, and you can fix all of the deficiencies that this one had compared to the other one and still have money in your pocket. So would I recommend this over the iFootage Cobra 3 Strike? Absolutely. Why? Well, it's almost as fast. It might not be the fastest monopod for adjustments, but you're, like I said in the demonstration, you're only really messing with the top clip. At most, the top 2 clips. The bottom one's just going to be extended and locked most of the time, and you can easily reach the other 2 without having to bend over too far. The top one is right pretty much by your hip. It's not that far off at all. The other thing is that with the iFootage Cobra 3, that clutch mechanism is right on the handle, which means you could accidentally depress that and throw your camera out of adjustment unintentionally. So you might be filming something and you might want to move your monopod over an inch, and you might accidentally depress it, and then you've dropped your camera down and you've lost that sweet spot that you had before. With this one, with the clips, that's not going to happen by accident. It's going to stay in the same spot. So in a way, it has an advantage over that, because once you get those certain angles, you don't really want to mess with that. Now, if you were on the move and you really had to move from place to place and adjust your heights very, very quickly, then yes, obviously you're going to go with that other one. But how many people does that really apply to? I don't think it applies to a lot of people. After all, I've got a few spare seconds, don't you? Now, when I get that plate, I'm going to do another video, just a quick one, demonstrating how that plate works and how easy it is to install and how you can level it from the plate without having to now adjust that bottom piece. And if you needed to adjust the bottom piece, let's say you wanted to go on a severe angle or anything like that, you can. But that top plate, you can adjust it plus or minus 15 degrees. And I think it'll be just fine for my purposes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. As I said before, this is not a sponsored video. I don't ask people to join memberships. I don't ask people for anything. If you were kind enough to watch this video in its entirety and put up with the commercials, that is good enough for me. I do have a day job. So take care, be safe at work, and I will see you at the next video. And if you want to see that one on the plate, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And as soon as I get it, you'll get to see that video. Thanks for your time.